Hello everyone. Today we will talk about ethical problems of organizations. In August 2009, the IMF estimated that the 2008-9 financial crisis would cost the world $11.9 trillion, equivalent to a $2,880 gift for every person globally. This staggering figure highlights the consequences of a culture focused on short-term financial performance. Concerns about corporate ethics grew as CEO compensation skyrocketed from 27 times the average worker's pay in 1973 to 275 times by 2007, fueling a fixation on stock prices. Prominent figures like Arthur Levitt, former SEC chair, emphasized the detrimental obsession with short-term earnings, leading to unethical decision-making among executives. The first decade of the 2000s saw numerous corporate scandals involving companies like Enron and Citigroup, raising questions about ethical behavior in business. Despite many organizations striving for ethical standards, a few wrongdoers can significantly impact the economy, as demonstrated by the financial crisis. The chapter aims to explore various business ethics cases, focusing on how small issues can escalate into major disasters, while also highlighting positive examples and hypothetical scenarios to encourage reflection on ethical conduct in organizations. Business has evolved significantly since the late 19th century, when many large corporations were privately held and operated with minimal oversight. Owners, often wealthy magnates, faced few constraints, and workers had no protections, leading to widespread corporate abuses largely unnoticed by the public. Today, corporations must navigate complex stakeholder landscapes, balancing the interests of various groups, including customers, employees, shareholders, suppliers, and regulatory bodies. Unlike a century ago, public corporations are closely monitored by the press and investors, making accountability crucial. Organizations face the challenge of determining their obligations to both primary stakeholders, those with formal relationships, and secondary stakeholders, those without formal ties. Senior executives are tasked with resolving conflicts among these obligations, often using ethical decision-making frameworks. David Abrahams, a consultant, developed a stakeholder model to help businesses assess risks to their reputation by categorizing stakeholders into primary and secondary groups. The following cases in the text focus on major stakeholder categories: consumers, employees, shareholders, and the community, encouraging readers to analyze the obligations organizations have to all stakeholders involved. Prior to the 1960s, consumer protection laws were scarce, with consumers lacking the ability to sue manufacturers for defective products. The pivotal case of McPherson v. General Motors in the early 20th century granted consumers the right to sue auto manufacturers for faulty vehicles, marking a significant legal shift. The Pure Food and Drug Act of 1906 was another landmark legislation aimed at preventing adulteration in food and drugs. However, it was not until the early 1960s, during the Kennedy administration, that substantial consumer protection legislation emerged, positioning consumers as a crucial stakeholder group. President John F. Kennedy outlined 4 consumer rights in 1962: the right to safety, the right to be heard, the right to choose, and the right to be informed, laying the foundation for the modern consumer movement. Companies have obligations to their customers based on the due care theory, encompassing various elements like design, materials, production, quality control, packaging, labeling, warnings, and recall procedures for dangerous products. In this chapter, the focus is on 3 key responsibilities towards customers: respecting their interests, delivering safe and defect-free products, and truthfully advertising products or services. Companies have a responsibility to protect their customers from harm. This means going beyond just selling a product. They must ensure it's safe, reliable, and honestly represented. Due care theory, which includes design. Companies must design products that follow legal safety standards and won't harm users even in expected, real-life situations. Materials. The raw materials used should meet legal requirements and be strong enough to ensure the product lasts and works properly. Production. The manufacturing process should ensure products are made correctly and don't have defects that could cause harm. Quality control. Products must be regularly checked during and after production to make sure they meet safety and quality expectations. Packaging and labeling. Instructions must be easy to understand, and any risks should be clearly stated so users know how to use the product safely. Notification. If a product is later found to be dangerous, the company must have a system in place to recall it and inform the public. The chapter's main message is that ethical organizations have 3 key duties toward customers. 1. Treat them with respect. 2. Provide products that are safe to use. 3. Communicate honestly through advertising. Together, these practices help build trust, reduce harm, and fulfill a company's ethical responsibilities. Conflicts of interest, usually associated with individuals, can also affect organizations, often with more severe consequences than individual conflicts. Examples like Arthur Andersen and Enron illustrate the damaging impact of organizational conflicts. Enron's downfall, due to off-the-books partnerships and aggressive accounting practices, led to bankruptcy and criminal charges for top executives. The fallout affected various stakeholders. Employees lost retirement savings, executives faced legal consequences, and fines were imposed on Enron and financial institutions involved in the scandal. Arthur Levitt, former SEC chairman, highlighted how Enron's collapse implicated various entities like auditors, lawyers, analysts, and investment bankers in facilitating the fraud. The case underscored the need for robust ethical oversight and raised questions about professionals' roles in protecting the public interest. Similarly, Marsh and McLennan faced ethical scandals, including bid rigging and conflicts of interest. The companies settled lawsuits, faced stock price declines, and underwent leadership changes to restore its reputation. The case emphasized the importance of ethical leadership and transparency in corporate governance. Product safety. Product safety is a fundamental ethical obligation for organizations. Cases like Johnson & Johnson's handling of the Tylenol poisoning crisis demonstrated a proactive and transparent response to protect consumers. By recalling products, communicating openly, and enhancing packaging security, Johnson & Johnson showcased a commitment to customer safety and integrity. Conversely, Toyota's accelerator issue showcased a delayed and inadequate response, leading to accidents and fatalities. The company's reputation for quality suffered due to underestimating the problem and mismanaging the crisis. The case underscored the criticality of swift and effective responses to product safety concerns to maintain consumer trust and brand credibility. Advertising. Ethical concerns in pharmaceutical advertising raise questions about truthfulness, responsible marketing, and consumer welfare. Instances involving drug endorsements by celebrities without disclosure, misleading claims, and privacy breaches highlight the ethical complexities in drug marketing practices. The impact of direct-to-consumer advertising on prescription drug use, healthcare costs, and patient-doctor relationships underscores the need for transparent and responsible marketing practices in the pharmaceutical industry. Cases like Novartis' product endorsement by Lauren Bacall and shortages of prescription medications shed light on ethical dilemmas in pharmaceutical marketing. Companies' efforts to enhance transparency, educate consumers on drug risks, and adhere to industry guidelines signal a shift towards more ethical advertising practices. The pharmaceutical industry's evolving approach to marketing reflects a growing awareness of the need for ethical standards in advertising to protect consumer welfare and industry reputation. Okay, now ethical responsibilities toward employee safety. Organizations have a moral duty to ensure a safe working environment for their employees. This includes protecting them from physical harm and being transparent about workplace hazards. In the case of Johns Manville, the company concealed the deadly effects of asbestos exposure for decades, leading to thousands of preventable illnesses and deaths. Despite internal knowledge of the risks as early as the 1930s, Johns Manville failed to warn employees, manipulated medical data, and prioritized profits over people. The result was a massive wave of lawsuits, bankruptcy, and a damaged legacy that could have been avoided through ethical leadership and open communication. Similarly, McQueen, Inc. exemplified corporate neglect, with a history of worker injuries and fatalities far exceeding industry standards. The company ignored safety regulations and encouraged a culture of production at all costs. Investigative journalism exposed McQueen's practices, leading to federal indictments and millions in fines. By contrast, competitor Asipco prioritized worker welfare, had significantly lower injury rates, and was recognized as a top employer, proving that valuing safety and employees can lead to lasting success. There is also ethical downsizing and fair treatment. While businesses may need to reduce staff due to financial challenges, the process must be handled ethically, with respect and transparency. Scott Paper Company, under CEO Al Dunlap, laid off over 11,000 workers and relocated its headquarters for personal reasons. Though profits soared and shareholders benefited, the move devastated employees and the community, damaging the company's reputation. Dunlap's later role at Sunbeam ended in scandal, as he was implicated in accounting fraud, highlighting the dangers of placing personal gain and short-term profit above ethical responsibility. In contrast, Lincoln Electric Company built a culture of mutual loyalty and long-term employee commitment. Known for its guaranteed employment program, performance-based incentives, and open communication, Lincoln minimized layoffs even during severe downturns. When the global financial crisis hit in 2008, the company implemented shared sacrifices, including management pay cuts and voluntary buyouts, demonstrating a deep respect for all employees. Lincoln's model proves that ethical treatment of workers can coexist with profitability and long-term stability. These cases and the importance of aligning corporate decision-making with ethical principles, especially in matters that affect employees' lives and livelihoods. Organizations that prioritize integrity and fairness build trust, loyalty, and sustainable success. The last slide we will talk about in this chapter is ethics and other stakeholders. Ethical responsibilities to shareholders. Organizations have a strong ethical obligation to shareholders, not only to ensure short-term financial performance, but also to safeguard long-term sustainability. This means avoiding actions that could harm the company's reputation, risk financial collapse, or neglect the interests of other stakeholders such as customers and employees. As Cotter and Heskett argue, true shareholder value comes from also caring for customers and employees. The case of Salomon Brothers highlights the dangers of unethical conduct. In 1990–91, Salomon illegally rigged treasury bond auctions. When top executives failed to report the misconduct, the delay in disclosure led to devastating reputational and financial losses. Market value plummeted, key staff departed, and clients withdrew. Though Warren Buffett stepped in as interim chairman, it took years for the firm to recover. Salomon's name later became associated with conflict of interest scandals during the early 2000s, contributing to massive industry-wide settlements and stricter regulations. Similarly, AIG, once a symbol of financial strength, nearly collapsed during the 2008 crisis due to reckless sales of derivatives CDOs and CDSs by a small and regulated unit, AIG Financial Products. The firm could not meet its obligations and required a $180 billion government bailout. Public outrage intensified when the very traders responsible for the losses received millions in bonuses. AIG's reputation was severely damaged, forcing it to rebrand parts of its business and lay off thousands. Its ability to attract talent and recover trust remains uncertain. These cases show that neglecting ethics in favor of short-term gains can be catastrophic for shareholder value and corporate survival. Firms that manipulate markets, mislead investors, or take reckless financial risks ultimately undermine their own existence. Ethical responsibilities to the community and the environment. Corporations are not isolated entities. They are members of communities and stewards of the environment. Their operations have wide-reaching effects on local economies, public health, and natural ecosystems. As such, companies have ethical duties to protect the environment and engage responsibly with the communities they serve. The Exxon Valdez oil spill in 1989 is a landmark example. After one of its tankers spilled 10 million gallons of crude oil into Alaskan waters, Exxon's response was widely criticized. CEO Lawrence Rawls remained distant. Critical cleanup equipment was missing or broken, and Exxon deflected blame. Although $2 billion was eventually spent on cleanup and additional damages were paid, the company's reputation suffered deeply. Over 30,000 birds and thousands of sea otters perished, and consumers protested by cutting up their Exxon credit cards. In 2008, after years of litigation, the U.S. Supreme Court reduced Exxon's punitive damages from $5 billion to $500 million, sparking further controversy. These examples demonstrate that companies must think beyond profits. Ethical behavior towards shareholders, communities, and the environment is not only a moral obligation, it is essential for long-term trust, sustainability, and success.
Thank you for watching. If you liked this video, please like and subscribe to channel.